people.
Sure.
Strangely enough, the staircase is pretty active.
Okay.
That room in there has never had, this area here, this bedroom here is very active. But beyond that wall, it's strangely enough, well, not strangely enough, because it's a lot newer. These are all much later additions. So, kind of interesting that.
You mentioned in June that there was apparition seen here in this room.
Yeah, right. A woman on an architectural tour encountered the ghost of a woman here.
Okay.
She was really distressed at the time. Interestingly enough, she said that the woman was able to communicate that her name was Mary.
Really? Wow.
Fairly, if she'd said Hermione and the first wife of the builder was Hermione, I would have really fallen right over. Mary is a pretty common name.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the first wife of the builder.
Oh,
your middle name? Your middle name? Okay.
Try to keep it light.
Well, it's kind of interesting that she said, well, you know, she communicated that her name was Mary.
Sure.
She's distressed because she feels that she's losing her children, or the children are not going to be.
Okay.
In fact, she died leaving children behind.
Interesting. All right.
So that. And the woman, I think, was really sincere. Yes.
So we'll do probably, find some central location. We'll have a monitor set up for the DVR, and you're all welcome to sit and watch, to participate.
Yes.
With whatever team. We'll split into two teams to investigate through the house. We do what's called EVP sessions. In other words, electronic voice phenomena sessions,
right,
where we ask a series of questions and try to capture responses.
Another era. So the most valuable things in the house are in this room too. So, but that's the only thing that's ever happened about here is that door acting.
Okay.
And then the room's showing the recess. So there might be something around here.
I think what we'll do is put the IR trap camera in here and close the door and just leave it. We won't even come in here.
Right. Okay.
It's a camera that activates only for motion.
Yes.
It'll take a series of pictures every time it's activated.
Okay.
So, that's the only thing we'll do.
Okay.
And the camera placement is pretty easy because you gave us all the clues.
Yeah, they are. But definitely the two bedrooms, in my bedroom up here,
the stairway.
They have seen, there has been an apparition at the south window in my bedroom above.
All right.
Which actually my brother saw in 1974. And
Okay.
other people have seen it before and since, without being told that there's an apparition at the window. So it's kind of spooky. But that was definitely something.
That was what actually made me and John realize that we had experienced all the same thing.
Sure.
I used to hear the pacing up in your room as well as the other room. And we were coming out, I was quite young, maybe about 14 or so. We were coming up from the land where we were camping, and someone shone a light up this window and said, "Gosh, there's somebody at the window." And we shone the light up, and it was very definitely a figure. So I came running up to the room. Henry and John were at boarding school.
Right.
So I stood at the window, and they said, "Oh, it had to have been a person." And then many, many years later, 20 years later, we were talking with my grandfather about the fact that the windows at that end of the room are different from the ones at the northern end of the room. He had said that in those days, the room was split into two bedrooms, and he had slept in the northern bedroom, and his Uncle Aubrey slept in the other bedroom. And he had put in the windows so that, because he enjoyed getting up early in the morning and watching the sunrise.
Okay.
Or the
And it was
nighttime
early.
turn to
It was,
daylight.
yeah. He liked the dawn. He loved seeing the dawn, and it was actually just coming up to dawn when you saw this apparition at the window.
And we guess that he must also pace, because he had the two windows. And then the other place where we heard the pacing a lot was in a similar window in the other bedroom on this side.
That's where I heard as a
And
teenager.
in those days, it was a corridor that led down to the bathroom. And my guess is he would pace up and down in front of that window as well.
Was this the original foundation?
Yeah.
The original part of the house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all this section to that door is all the original house, 1802. And then the rest came in different stages in the 19th century and 20th century.
So when you guys first started having experiences and going to your parents' house, like telling them, did anyone ever even say like, no, that's not real? Or they were just like, yeah, ghosts are real, we believe you?
I don't recall.
You know? I mean, a lot of people are taught not to
Yeah,
leave
no,
it.
No, I guess they just didn't want to make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
So nothing was ever mentioned. It wasn't until much later in life that we compared a lot of our
Right.
experiences,
And they were so exact.
they were so similar.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that we had, what I had gone through in 1968 or something, my brother went through 2 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I-
always great. That's nice.
I have heard that scenario from so many people where they experience things as children they didn't want to talk about, they didn't want to mention, they're afraid somebody would laugh at them or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then as they got older, they got together with their siblings or cousins or whatever, and they said, "Did you ever experience anything?" Let me tell you. You know, and it was just like this. You know, which really lends a lot of credibility
That lends a lot of
to,
credibility.
Yeah.
to the stories.
Yeah, which it certainly did for my parents. When I had gone through it, my parents thought, well, maybe John's just a bit having flights of fancy.
Mm-hmm.
When Donald went through it, Donald was not prone to an imagination as I was. It really lent credibility to the whole thing, and they started thinking, well, John must have experienced something.
Sure.
The fact that we were both about 13 at the time, they say that can, I mean, I've read that teenagers can bring out
Puberty.
Yeah.
Excuse
me, I'm trying to find our stock.
Oh,
that
cool.
comes with that.
Sure.
Poltergeists can be summoned.
The only time I was ever frightened by the whole experience was I was 18, I guess, and I had the same thing where the person touched me,
Right.
and
Yeah, that was
freaked me
spooky.
out a little bit. So and that was
Yeah.
the last time I ever experienced anything until probably about 2 years ago when I would wake up a lot in the night and I'd see a young black boy go at the end of my bed. And eventually I mentioned it to John. He said, "Oh, that's interesting," because there was a John Smith who died at the age of 18, worked in the kitchen, and in those days, of course, that bedroom was a kitchen. And there was another man also who we discovered may have been Phil Smith, or Philip Smith, who was a much older man.
This is the one you referred to as Bacon Boy, wasn't it? He
Yes,
smelled bacon.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, so he's like an older teenager. It's not a little kid ghost.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
he'd be about 18 or so.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And he died, I think, in 1830.
Sometime in the 1830s,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was very unusual that I had this, because it's the first time it had happened for
Sure.
many, many years. But then John was able to verify, oh, that's who it might have been.
Because he died at the age of 18 in the house. And that was
Oh.
the kitchen, so that would be an area where he would be
Right.
possibly.
You still have the old fireplace in there? The old-
No, the
They
chimney
blocked it
blew
up.
down in a
It's a
hurricane,
shame.
and so they blocked it out.
Apparently it was a really nice big horn thing.
All right.